You know what's crazy? The biggest mistake smart men make with women isn't being too emotional or too nice. It's being too rational. Yeah, I said it. Intelligence can actually ruin your love life. Because smart men treat relationships like equations. Input honesty, output loyalty. But women aren't algorithms. They feel first, think later. And when you overanalyze every move, every text, every signal, you kill the mystery that makes attraction breathe. Here's the controversial part. A lot of smart men secretly believe they deserve love because they've done everything right. You provided stability, empathy, attention. You followed all the right rules. But love doesn't reward logic. It responds to energy. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't chase approval. He embodies calm. He knows that emotion, not explanation, creates connection. So maybe it's time we admit, being smart with women doesn't mean solving them. It means understanding yourself deeply enough to stop trying. Now tell me, do you agree that intelligence can make dating harder? Or do you think smart men just choose the wrong women? Drop your thoughts in the comments. You're smart, disciplined, logical. You've read the books, watched the podcasts, and you think you understand women. But here's the truth most men don't want to face. Intelligence doesn't protect you from heartbreak. In fact, it often makes you more vulnerable. Because sometimes, the smarter you are, the easier it is to rationalize your own pain. Today, we're breaking down the 9 mistakes smart men make with women. And the final one, number 9, is the one that destroys even the strongest men. Smart men overthink love. You don't fall in blindly, you calculate your way in. Every glance, every text, every silence, you analyze it like data. You tell yourself, she's different. She understands me. She sees the world the way I do. But that's where the illusion begins. You don't see her, you see the idea of her. You mistake intellectual chemistry for emotional compatibility. You convince yourself that deep conversations mean deep connection, when sometimes they're just words floating on shallow water. You start to build a story, one that only exists in your mind. You see potential instead of reality. You see patterns instead of red flags. You analyze instead of feeling. That's mistake number 1. Believing your intelligence can protect you from emotional pain. You think because you understand psychology, logic, or stoicism, you can outthink heartbreak. But emotions aren't a problem to be solved. They're waves meant to be surfed. And the more you fight the tide, the deeper it pulls you under. You pride yourself on control. You've trained your mind to stay calm under pressure, to not react, to think before you feel. But when it comes to love, that same control becomes your weakness. Because love is not a battlefield for the mind. It's a mirror for the soul. And no amount of reasoning can save you from what you refuse to accept. You tell yourself she's special because she listens when you speak. Because she shares your interests. Because she doesn't interrupt when you talk about your goals. But in truth, you're falling for the reflection of your own thoughts. You're falling for how she makes you feel about yourself. And that's where the trap begins. You start rationalizing her distance. You start justifying the mixed signals. She's just busy. She's been hurt before. She needs time. Every excuse is another brick in the wall you're building around the truth that maybe she doesn't feel the same. But your mind won't accept that because it doesn't fit the logic. You're not a fool. You're smart, composed, analytical. You don't chase attention, but somehow, she's the one who can make you lose sleep. You check your phone, pretending you don't care. You replay conversations in your head, trying to find meaning in every pause, every emoji, every period at the end of her sentence. And here's the painful irony. The smarter you are, the easier it is to deceive yourself. Because your brain will always find a reason to justify your feelings. It'll build beautiful stories to protect your heart from the truth. You think you're being patient, but you're actually waiting for someone who stopped choosing you long ago. You think you're being understanding, but you're really negotiating your worth. You think you're being strong, but you're slowly becoming emotionally dependent on her validation. The truth? You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to hope. The hope that she'll see your effort. The hope that she'll realize your worth. The hope that logic will eventually convince her to love you back. But love doesn't follow logic. It doesn't reward understanding. It rewards presence. And while you're trapped in your thoughts, she's living in her feelings. You're strategizing how to win her over, while she's already moved on emotionally. That's the paradox of the intelligent man. You can explain everything except why you keep breaking your own heart. So, let me tell you this truth. Your intelligence is not your shield. It's your mirror. It doesn't protect you from pain. It exposes how deeply you feel it. Because the smarter you are, the more vividly you understand what's happening, and the harder it is to let go. A Stoic man accepts that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. You can't control who stays or who leaves, but you can control how you interpret their absence. So stop overanalyzing her silence. Stop searching for reasons where there are none. Sometimes the most logical thing you can do is walk away. In the end, it's not about winning her affection. It's about reclaiming your peace. Because when you learn to detach your mind from what your heart craves, that's when true power begins. And that is how smart men fall harder. Not because they're weak, but because they care too deeply to realize they're breaking their own hearts in the process. You think you're in control. You tell yourself, I'm calm. I'm grounded. I'm not like other men who chase. But that's the second mistake. Because silence can also be a strategy for control. You're not detached. You're just hiding your need behind logic. You think that by not texting first, you're winning. That by acting indifferent, you're the one in power. But here's the truth. Real control isn't about pretending not to care. It's about being honest with yourself when you actually do. The illusion of control is seductive. You've mastered it everywhere else. In work, in life, in challenges that require discipline. You've learned to think before reacting. But in relationships, that discipline becomes a mask. A way to protect your ego, not your peace. You say, she'll text when she's ready. You say, if it's meant to be, it'll be. But deep down, you're waiting for her reply like it's oxygen. You've turned emotional restraint into a form of obsession. Every moment of silence becomes a test you must pass. Every delay in response becomes a puzzle you have to solve. But love doesn't exist in logic. It exists in presence. Mistake number 3. You confuse understanding women with connecting to them. You've studied their patterns, read the books, watched the videos, even memorized what body language means. You think if you just decode her, you can unlock her heart. But women aren't equations. They're energy. They don't respond to what you know. They respond to what you feel. You don't realize it yet, but your logic is pushing her away. She's not looking for someone to analyze her. She's looking for someone who feels safe with her. And safety doesn't come from intelligence. It comes from authenticity. You can't connect through control. You connect through presence. You connect when you stop trying to win and start trying to understand. Here's the paradox. The smarter you are, the harder it is to surrender. Because surrender feels like losing control. But love, real love, only grows in surrender. You can't calculate chemistry. You can't reason your way into someone's heart. You can't spreadsheet your emotions or predict loyalty through logic. You either show up fully, or you watch her drift away while you're too busy trying not to care. The illusion of control isn't about power, it's about fear. You're afraid that if you let go, you'll get hurt. Afraid that if you open up, she'll leave. Afraid that if you love honestly, you'll lose the upper hand. But here's what Stoicism teaches. You never had control to begin with. You only have control over your choices, not the outcome. You can't force connection. You can only express truth. The moment you stop trying to manage your reactions and start managing your own peace, you reclaim your power. That's real Stoic strength. Calm not because you suppress emotion, but because you've accepted it. So stop pretending that distance makes you powerful. Stop performing detachment. Stop confusing silence with strength. Power is not in who texts first. It's in who stays grounded when the other person disappears. Control isn't about holding on tighter. It's about letting go gracefully when things fall apart. Because when you stop trying to control love, you finally understand it. Love isn't about possession. It's about presence. And that's the truth most smart men never learn until it's too late. That control doesn't protect your heart. It isolates it. And the more you hold on, the more you lose the very thing you're trying to keep. You call it love. She calls it kindness. But what you're really doing is saving her from battles that were never yours to fight. Mistake number 4. Try to fix her. You see her pain, her chaos, her broken stories, and your instinct kicks in. You want to heal it. You want to make her life easier. You tell yourself, if I just love her right, she'll finally feel safe. But here's the truth. She doesn't need a savior. She needs a man who can hold space, not carry her burdens. You don't heal someone by losing yourself in their chaos. You only drown trying to rescue someone who is never reaching back. You keep showing up. You listen. You help. You compromise. Every time she pulls away, you try harder. Every time she gets distant, you give more. You mistake her silence for a test, not a decision. And that's mistake number 5. Believing effort equals love. You were taught that consistency, patience, and giving are signs of a good man. And they are. But when you're giving to someone who keeps taking, that's not love. That's emotional self-sabotage. You keep telling yourself that she'll see your worth if you just prove it enough times. You confuse loyalty with endurance. But love isn't about how much pain you can tolerate. It's about how much peace you can protect. You're not losing her because you're not enough. You're losing yourself because you keep trying to be enough for someone who doesn't even know what they want. She'll say things like, you're amazing, you deserve the best, or you're such a good person. And yet, she'll walk away. Why? Because she never wanted a hero. She wanted a partner. When you become her emotional safety net, you remove her responsibility to meet you halfway. You start solving, fixing, supporting, until she doesn't have to invest. And when she stops investing, you blame yourself for not doing enough. The hero complex feels noble, but it's rooted in fear, the fear of not being chosen. You believe if you can prove your value, she'll stay. But people don't stay because of how much you give. They stay because of how they feel when they're with you. And if your presence is built on sacrifice, not authenticity, they'll sense it. They'll feel the tension. That quiet desperation behind every I'm fine. That invisible pressure that says, please see how much I care. The truth is, you can't love someone into being ready. You can't fix trauma with tenderness. You can't pour peace into someone who thrives on chaos. Sometimes love means stepping back. Sometimes love means letting her face her own storms. And sometimes, love means admitting you were never supposed to be her savior, only her mirror. The Stoic man knows this. Peace isn't found in fixing others. It's found in mastering yourself. When you stop trying to be the hero, you rediscover your strength. You become grounded, centered, and free. Because the moment you stop rescuing others, you start rescuing yourself. And that's where real power begins, not in changing her, but in reclaiming you. Love isn't about sacrifice. It's about balance. And the man who learns that never loses himself trying to be someone's hero again. There comes a moment when the noise fades. The texts stop, the confusion clears, and what's left is silence. Not the kind that hurts, but the kind that heals. Because that's when you realize every mistake you made with women wasn't just about them. It was about you. Mistake number 7, losing your masculine calm. You see, most men don't lose women because they're unworthy. They lose them because they lose themselves in the process. You start reacting instead of responding. You start chasing validation instead of standing firm in your purpose. When you let emotion control you, you become a stranger to your own strength. The Stoics taught that peace isn't found in controlling outcomes, but in mastering your reactions to them. Marcus Aurelius said, "You can't control others, only your response to them." Think about that. You can't make her love you. You can't make her stay. But you can choose not to lose your calm when she leaves. Because calm isn't weakness. It's power restrained. It's strength under control. Mistake number 8. Forgetting your philosophy. You studied wisdom. You quoted Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, but the moment your heart got involved, you forgot every lesson. You became the man who knew what to say, but not how to live it. Philosophy isn't meant for peace alone. It's meant for pain. It's a tool you sharpen before life cuts you. So when the storm hits, you already know how to stand. The Stoic doesn't run from heartbreak. He studies it. He asks, what can this teach me? Because every wound carries wisdom. Every silence teaches restraint. Every goodbye refines your soul. The truth is, emotional clarity isn't coldness. It's freedom. It's saying, I can love deeply and still walk away peacefully. It's looking at loss without losing your center. And that's where the shift happens, when you stop trying to control her actions and start mastering your reactions. That's when you stop asking, why did she change? And start asking, what am I meant to learn? Because the ultimate Stoic truth is this. Peace doesn't come when people treat you right. It comes when their treatment no longer shakes your peace. And as you rediscover your calm, you start to see something you missed all along. The real lesson isn't about her or what she did. It's about the man you become when you stop chasing control and start embracing clarity. But here's the twist. The ninth mistake isn't about women at all. It's about something far deeper, something every man must face if he wants true freedom. Here, it is the final mistake. The one that doesn't just ruin relationships, it ruins men. Mistake number 9, losing yourself. You gave everything. Your time, your energy, your peace. You try to be the perfect man, the calm one, the provider, the protector. But somewhere along the line, you forgot who you were before her. It's easy to think love means sacrifice, but Stoicism teaches something different. Love is not self-erasure. It's self-awareness. When you forget yourself, you start molding your identity to fit someone else's comfort. You silence your needs, your purpose, your growth, just to keep the peace. But peace that costs your soul is nothing but quiet suffering. You can't be strong for anyone if you're empty inside. You can't give love if you've forgotten how to stand alone. And the moment you stop living by your principles, you stop being you. The Stoics warned against this, against attachment to things outside your control. Because the deeper your identity depends on someone else, the weaker your inner foundation becomes. Epictetus once said, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger. The same truth applies here. When love breaks, don't point outward. Look inward, not to blame yourself, but to rebuild yourself. And that's the test of every Stoic man. Not how deeply he feels, but how strongly he stands after the feeling fades. So stop chasing closure from people who walked away. Stop replaying the words you should have said. Instead, thank the silence. Because in that silence, you meet the man you were always meant to be. You see, the real freedom isn't in having control. It's in letting go of the need to control. It's in loving without losing yourself, caring without clinging, giving without expecting. When you master that balance, you stop making the mistakes most men do. You stop trying to own peace. You simply become it. So remember this. You don't heal by finding someone new. You heal by coming home to yourself. Because in the end, the Stoic man doesn't seek to conquer women. He seeks to conquer himself. You've watched the journey. You've seen the mistakes, the illusions, the heartbreak, and the awakening. Here's the truth. Smart men make mistakes, not because they lack intelligence, but because they care too deeply. They overthink, overgive, and overfeel. But the real power comes when you stop chasing what you cannot control and start mastering yourself. The Stoic man doesn't fear loss. He doesn't beg for love. He embraces clarity. He protects his peace, and he walks forward with dignity, no matter the outcome. So ask yourself, which mistakes are you making? And are you ready to stop losing yourself for someone who may never see your worth? Subscribe now for more Stoic relationship insights. Learn how to love wisely, live powerfully, and keep your peace no matter what. Because the journey to mastery doesn't start with them, it starts with you.